Hello, everyone. I wanted to show you all this infographic I put together that discusses how to write for a specific audience in Project 2. I'll be going over this infographic in this video, and then I'll include it as a downloadable link as well in the announcement post, so you can refer back to it whenever you'd like. I'll also be showing you some examples of other students' final projects from a different term so you can see how they wrote for a specific audience as well. So let's go ahead and jump into this infographic. One thing that I think is important to remember for Project 2 is that you're writing a proposal for an audience to take action, to actually go out into the world and put your ideas into place. And in order for action to be taken, you have to be sure you're writing to the correct audience, which also means that your audience isn't broad enough for your proposal, potentially meaning nobody in your audience actually resonates with your ideas. So it's important that your focus is narrow in Project 2, and I think here are some ways that you can narrow your focus and write to that specific audience. So first off, what is your appeal? Attention spans are getting shorter and shorter nowadays, and with people wanting to make sure they're spending their time appropriately on what they're reading, it's important to have something in your proposal that is tempting to them and actually makes them want to read it. So while you're crafting your proposal, I'd recommend thinking about the knowledge you have about your problem that's important, new, and would make people interested in reading your solution to this problem. Once you've considered this, a good thing to do is to consider who would benefit the most from hearing the information that you have to offer, which leads us into taking action here. So now it's time to convince the reader to actually go ahead and take action. And the next step for that is to consider the decision maker or a decision making body in your educational community, local community, or workplace that has the necessary resources to put your solution into place. Remember, these are real world problems that you're crafting a solution to. So it's crucial to consider who possesses the real world materials to make your solution a reality. When thinking about who has the proper resources to make the solution possible and who would benefit the most from hearing this information, your possible audiences should be reduced down to a handful of possibilities, maybe even less than a handful. I think pairing these two considerations together can really help shine a light on the best possible audience for your solution. And hopefully that'll help you realize which audience works best for you and the solution you're proposing. Moving on to number 3 here, the psychographics of the audience. So considering the psychographics or the behavior of your audience is another useful tool that you can use. As you're trying to narrow your focus to a specific audience, a relevant thing to consider is the behavior and desires of who you want to read your proposal. Um, so thinking about the desires of the potential decision makers and what they're wanting to hear and understand from your proposal is very helpful, as that can reveal who would benefit the most from implementing your solution and who's going to be actually motivated to make like the progress towards your solution. Because if it aligns with something that they're desiring or something they're wanting to achieve in their community or their workplace, then obviously they're going to be more motivated to also working with you and making your solution a reality. So that's something to consider as well. Adopting the audience's perspective is another great method to narrow your focus. So this is a practice that I recommend implementing in other forms of writing if it works for you here. I do it a lot personally. And the reason why this practice can be so helpful is because you'll be viewing your proposal through the eyes of an outsider. Um, and by taking that step back from your own perspective as the author of the proposal, this outsider's perspective can then help you identify the most important and relevant points that are in your proposal already. Um, so it'll ultimately narrow the overall focus of your proposal as you realize what information might actually be unnecessary and can be eliminated entirely. And by eliminating that excess, you're making your proposal easier to read, which will then help the decision maker like fully and truly understand your appeal and your proposal. And lastly, asking yourself questions is another way to narrow down your potential audiences. So, some questions I have here to ask yourself for Project 2 are: what is your audience least likely to care about? Will it have a direct impact on them or their loved ones? Who will put this solution into action? And are people aware of this problem? Asking yourself these questions and any other questions you can think of on your own can be a really useful method to help you here, because as you answer these questions, you'll be able to eliminate potential audiences that you feel like don't really fit the requirements for your solution, and like the people you're looking for, the people you're trying to reach. It'll help you eliminate those audiences that you feel really can help turn your solution into a reality. And here are some information sources. Here you can actually, when you download this infographic, you can click these links right here and it'll take you directly to these two sources that I used in creating this infographic. So yeah, again, this infographic is going to be available to download in the announcement post along with this video. So be sure to download it if you'd like to use it as a quick reference as you craft your proposal. Now I want to go ahead and take a look at some student examples from a previous term. So let me go ahead and pull these up right here. So what I did here is I looked at two projects from two previous students, and I copy and pasted their opening paragraph and their closing paragraph here. So this is one project and this is the second. So what I'm going to be showing in these two examples are these excerpts, and both of these proposals come in the form of a letter. And the first example here, the top one right here, is written to a specific council member in the students' community. And in her letter, she proposes a solution to the ongoing expansion of the zoo in her community. So writing to a specific member of her city's council was a great choice, as he's probably the member on this decision-making body with the most legislative power to actually put her solution into place. And in her closing paragraph here, she does an excellent job of putting the power back into the hands of the councilman, as she details why her solution to the expansion of the zoo makes sense for the zoo, the community members, and the city council as well. By doing this, she's making one final appeal for why the info and solution she offered is important and why it's beneficial for the councilman to take action. In this second example here, the student addresses the mayor of her city and the rest of the council members, which is another example of focusing on a very specific audience for the sake of the proposal and the project. And in her proposal, she explains that her neighborhood is facing an unhealthy smoking problem, and she's seeking to create an educational program that can inform the smokers of the effects of secondhand smoke and the damage they're causing to the community and the health of its residents. In her closing paragraph here, she does a great job of using pathos and relating her solution back to the residents of the community. Since her audience is the mayor and the council, she's appealing to their emotions, and the fact that they should care about the residents of their community and their health. Because her audience is so specific, she's able to use these rhetorical appeals to her advantage, actually, and combine them with the information she's already offering, because she's betting on the mayor's empathy and desire to take care of his residents, which relates back to the psychographic section on the infographic. But yeah, that's everything that I have to share with you all today. So I hope this was helpful to you in some way. And don't forget to download that infographic so you can use it as a reference as you work on your proposals for the rest of the term. Yeah, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, of course. I'm here to help. So yeah, that's all I have for you today, and good luck on your projects.